30 minutes in, a lot of fire. I appreciate people that are sharing. I appreciate everybody who's sharing. Really do. I really do. Thank you, Michael. Teawithmike, I like your handle.
Is everything going?
Yeah, just give it a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. Hey, so we spontaneous new show. I'm hijacking. Mike wanted to chat with me today, so hello to everybody tuning in. This is Water with Jonathan.
Oh, I forgot the water.
You forgot your water. Uh-oh. It's okay. I don't have any water facts for you. I know you normally feature tea facts on your show, so I'm sorry I don't have any water facts for you. But you are going to be on the Tea with Gary V show, which is hilarious because we started conversations way before you were doing your own show and personal brand and trying to build your own ambitions, and then you started this show called Tea with Mike. How long ago was that?
So the Tea with Mike show has now been in existence for over a year, so I guess because we're nearly halfway through the year, so nearly a year and a half.
Yeah, okay, sweet, which is awesome. And I remember before you had even started talking about me being on the show, then I was on the show. I remember you talking about all of the different, plans for it and asking for opinions and thoughts and how you would get people and who I should talk to and if I had anybody that I would recommend you talk, all that kind of stuff. And so I was dying when I got my email. So I've been to VaynerMedia, New York City, met Gary on a couple occasions.
Your Skype profile is still you, Gary.
It's true. And so I remember having lots of conversations about it. And so when I saw and I got the communication that he was doing the Tea with Gary V, I died. I was like, that's hilarious. And so I think it's awesome. So I want to find out, you're about to tell me, and then I was like, wait, actually, we should interview you. And so I want to hear, how did you end up getting a spot to be on the show? You haven't been yet. What was the process? Continue telling the story.
Sure. So as you know, the show's been around for a year, and then as you alluded to, as soon as Tea with Gary V came to surface, some of my social media followers, largely on Twitter, because it's a great platform for instant communication, started jumping onto all the threads about hashtag Tea with Gary V, and they were like, get Tea with Mike on the show. He's doing great things, etc., etc. So then I took that kind of momentum, made a couple of videos which people shared a little bit and that sort of thing, and then I started tweeting tea facts at him, and then I started talking to his team, Justin and then Zane a little bit behind the scenes. How the heck do I kind of get in front of him? So I was targeting all of his team members. And one by one, they gradually started following me on Twitter, which is cool. And then one of my friends, Isaac Mashman, he was like, get Michael on the show when Gary, within 3 seconds or something of Gary tweeting, because you got to be on the ball when he tweets, because they're really random.
Absolutely.
And then I jumped in and put a comment afterwards or something, and then there was this moment where the pin kind of dropped.
Yeah.
And then Zane, who is one of his community managers, and so it's under Gary's official account, and it was like, you're in, and then dash Zane. And then I had to keep staring at it. I was like, what? It took a while for it really click in my head. But you tweet fast, right? A lot of the times it's quite a fast response platform.
Yeah.
But then I stopped and I froze.
That's awesome. Good for you. That's sweet. So you're scheduled to be on when?
Maybe towards the end tomorrow, if not for sure, start of Wednesday.
Right, because the format is they are bringing community members, and he's doing 2-ish hour windows, interviewing a bunch of different people back to back.
Correct.
Then, so do you like have to prepare a question then for him, or like what's that look like?
What is my question?
Yeah, do you know what question you're gonna ask?
100% do.
Okay, so let's play a game then. For those viewing, let's see. I want to off the cuff see if I can predict any piece of what Gary is going to feed you for thoughts. So this is fun. I messaged you earlier, was like, hey, I want to know your question because I want to see if I can guess. So I've been listening to Gary for like, probably, well, I was at VaynerMedia. That would have been like 2, maybe 3 years ago. I don't remember when the first 4Ds class was, but that's when I went to.
It could be more than 2 years because I've been following him for nearly 2, and you were the first person to mention his name to me.
Yeah, I mentioned that's right. I'm the one. Okay, also cool. Full circle. Because I forgot. You're right. I was speaking at your class at your school and you asked me who are some people that I should be following, and who would have thought that would lead to you following Gary Vaynerchuk and now you being on his show, which is cool. So I think it was 3 years ago in April, if I'm not mistaken. I was there, which is cool. And so I've followed his stuff for a long time. But one of my favorite things is when he does his shows, I love before he actually answers, guessing what he's going to give for advice. Sometimes I'm way off, or sometimes he does something I didn't expect. Sometimes you're like bang on and like, yeah. So let's play this little game. What is your question? And I'm going to try and guess or predict what he might say. And I could be totally wrong. This video will be live later, and they'll be like, you're an idiot. Like, that was awful. Or I could be on and it would make me feel awesome. So we'll have some fun. What's your question?
Okay, so first there's I'm obviously going to thank him for certain things, etc., etc. A little segue, and I'm gonna hit him and ask him what his favorite type of tea is, and then the sub point of that is what did you think of these? What did you think when I kept tweeting tea facts at you?
How many tea facts did you tweet, Gary?
Maybe 5 to 8.
Nice.
Not just 1 or 2. There was quite a few. I don't remember the exact number, but it was it was at least 5.
Okay, nice. So then where are you going? What are you hoping to get?
So these 2 questions is a segue into talking about. Isn't this funny that Teawithmike is on the Tea with Gary V show? It's like a segue. Yeah. And then a little bit about the kind of the one line about what Teawithmike is, being going over a year. I just hit 50 episodes. And then my question is centered around are there any tips you have like on the promotion side to ensure like continued growth for my talk show?
Oh, there you go. You want to figure out tips now, like growth hacking tips, or just like
like scalability of the show.
Show specifically.
Yeah, and is there anything that I should be adding that I'm kind of not doing already to keep the consistency of the growth, like daily and weekly and monthly?
I think he is going to ask you how many people you have DM'd to be on your show. This is my prediction. He wants to know how many people you have invited in the DMs to be on your show versus how many you've had. And he's going to challenge you to keep doing that. So I remember when you first started, one of the things I said was like, you should message all of you when we were talking about Gary Vee. I was like, you should message all of his team and interview somebody about what it's like to work at VaynerMedia. All of that kind of stuff. And I remember that challenge really early. So you did it. Do you know how many people you have DM'd to be on your show? And by DM, it could be email, literally DM on Twitter or Instagram.
If I, at least 150, like, and then there's been some that obviously like haven't quite worked out, and then some people that never answered. Crazy.
He's going to tell you that's not enough, and then he's going to be like, and then he's going to push you to do more of that and book more. He's just going to say do more shows, right? You keep doing it over time and wait for those moments. Yeah, I think he would talk about collaborating, trying to not just find maybe the like heavy hitters, like you're going to have a show in right with you're going to be on the Tea with Gary V show. And so you'll have that similar-ish episode for somebody like him. But there's also a ton of people like you with similar audiences that you could go and be on a show with. So if I was you, I think that would be a big push too, is sure, I think you should DM every person that you want to ever be on the show and invite them to be on the show. And then, but in the meantime, there's also a ton of people in your same space who have a similar ambition. So a lot of people in your community support you because they love your ambition and what you want to do with it. And they think this is cool. And so some of them might be friends from school, family, extended connections through some of your networking. But there's going to be a lot of people on digital platforms in very similar spots to you and that would love to collab and do that. And so I think doing that more and more is great, right? And so just asking more and more people. You're at 50 episodes, that's sweet. But I think it's just more and being patient. You have so much time, and he'll probably tell you that because you're really young. So he'll probably nail you on that one. And yeah, I think he would just go like push it out, go with content. Now he's probably never watched any of your shows. Maybe he has, but you know, I know that you just push through it. It doesn't need to be perfect. They're raw.
Oh yeah, some of them are definitely raw.
Totally. So I mean, I know that, and so you know, he might just encourage you to just be yourself and keep doing it, not give up, and don't worry. He's gonna, you know, not to worry about how many likes, shares, comments, but just to focus on what actually matters, which is engaging with people, putting out that content, documenting, being authentic, you know, some of those things.
Doing what I'm doing right now.
Pardon?
So it's kind of doing more of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's, you know, if you have 8 hours in the day and your show's half an hour, you could record 2 every day and still have a ton of time to DM a bunch of people. Even working a full-time job, you work 8 hours, you go home and have another 8 hours of other time. So like, what are you doing from 10 till 2 a.m., right? Like, I mean, that he's going to want it, like, it's going to be that. And if your answer isn't that I spend an hour a day DMing people or filming more shows, like, how do you get to the point where you're putting out weekly, daily, from, you know, you're almost at weekly content, but to daily content? Well, you just do it more. You need to book more shows. And how do you do that? You ask more people.
I actually, since it was announced that I'd be like on the show, I've managed to connect with some pretty like high-profile guests. I got this guy that was on UK X Factor in 2016. So he's got like millions of hits, and then a couple of like famous YouTubers lining up for the show. Hit more people with 10K plus for their social media following.
Cool. And
maybe you can help me with this one. Like a long time ago, I've got the message on the Instagram to prove Andy
said he'd be on your show.
Yeah, and he still hasn't. I keep messaging him like, because it would be sweet, but he hasn't got back to me.
You got to bring that up tomorrow. That's funny. Yeah, it's legit. You just keep going. And reality is like, I mean, you've done that with me. You know, when I said I'd be on the show, but it took time and you kept asking. And so I think that's good, that follow up. But also like 150 isn't enough people, right? Like, it's not hard to find people with 10,000 plus followers. Keep doing it. I think the other thing you potentially could do that you probably haven't done yet, and that I would maybe do in your shoes, is look for maybe some like, what's your lane? Like, what is the common? So Gary talks a lot about staying in your lane. So what do you talk about on Tea with Mike other than tea that is going to draw people in? So are you talking like, what's the common thread? Now you could be wide. Pardon?
It's telling other people's stories.
Totally. So figuring that out, just because as you build an audience, you want the content to be interesting to them. So it's got to be genuine to you. So you've got some, there's people that go broad in scope and talk to a lot of people. And then there's other people like Gary, who's very focused on like entrepreneurship. Like that's very much, his content revolves around entrepreneurship. His interviews are with entrepreneurs, ambitious people. He does step out of his entrepreneur focus lane, kind of, in the sense of the type of entrepreneurs aren't always the same. But they're very entrepreneurial. So that could be something that you look at as well. It's just really making sure you define that, and it evolves over time. And I don't think there's a right or wrong, but as you figure out, and I think that'll come in time, right? As you play with a bunch of different things, finding what the types of people are that interest you and talking about that, not always just, interviewing whoever's in.
Yeah.
That's a good start. But now starting to narrow over time, you might start to find, I really like telling the stories of people in this demo or these industries or about these topics. Might be anybody, but it's like through the lens of, I want to specifically talk about like, hurdles that they overcame or businesses they built, or, ways they've impacted community. Find a common thread, and then that's where you might have, Gary V has had tons of different podcasts. So he's got, his daily V, which now his weekly V, content. It evolves over time, and that's more the raw behind the scenes. So the theme of that is behind the scenes of what's going on. And then he's got his Ask Gary V show, which is all Q&A, because people love Q&A.
Yes.
And it's, so he's got these different segments, and he builds that out. You don't need to go there right away, but that might be something where as you get going, when you narrow in on things, sometimes that can add some explosive power. But again, I don't think you need to lock yourself into a specific mold. So it's weird. You got to play in that two worlds, right? You want to be talking to everybody and doing all these things that are interesting to you to play until you find the thing that you're better at than anybody else.
Interesting. Nice. And then after all of that, depending on how it's going, comes the right hook.
You got a right hook. Of course you got a right hook. Okay, what's your right hook?
Now I'm split here because it also, because I've watched lots of like the Tea with Gary V's. Sometimes it goes super well for someone, sometimes it doesn't. It really just depends on the moment and also what mood he's in.
Yeah.
So I've got several. So number one is like, I think maybe the easiest one to get is to drop my social media handle at the bottom of the screen. He does that quite frequently.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one.
And what's the next one? What's the other option?
To meet him in person in Edmonton, with the goal being it's another step from me connecting with him on Twitter, him liking a few of my tweets, to them landing. And then he shouted me out on Tea with Gary V like the other week.
Okay.
And now I've been given the opportunity to be on the show. So you see the journey?
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's true. You're right. Sometimes it goes super well. Sometimes it doesn't. The thing I think you want to, like it's a right hook at the end, but he's already given you value. So the thing about the right hook, I'm all for it, is you've got to make the story and you've got to make your ask feel like, it's got to be reasonable and within, right? So you got to show him something in your first conversation that would go, ooh, I want to follow this through for the story. I want to, right? He needs to buy in rather than just going, oh, hey, I want blah, blah, blah. Like maybe, just think outside the box on that one. Maybe you go, hey, when you're in Edmonton, will you wear my Teawithmike t-shirt on stage? He might not, but like he always is wearing, like he wears his Pure Wow shirts. All of his stuff he wears is almost always apparel and swag for his own business. Now, if that works and that's the hook you go with, this clip of me telling you this is a great ask would be awesome. but it tells a fun story, right? And or you say, if you'll wear one of my shirts on your show, I'll wear one of your shirts on my show. So like flip it, right? So he wears the Tea with Mike show on Tea with Gary. You need to overnight ship him that shirt like tomorrow, and you get one of his shirts, and then you both wear it on each other's show, and it's just like goofy or weird. That one might not work, but it's just you got to find the way, because you're right. Depending on how you're vibing and what makes sense, he might go, yeah, I'm in, absolutely, or no, I'm not, right? You got that guy who asks for, an internship, but everybody asks for that. You don't want to find, So, yeah, that's cool.
It's good. Yeah. Nobody knows it. Because it could depend who's been on before. It could depend, like, how his day's going in his real business,
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's really cool. So you're on the show, you're asking him the question.
Yeah.
What do you want out of it? Like, the end of the day, you're going in, you're going to be on Tea with Gary. What do you hope to walk away with?
The most common thing that often ends up, not all the time, but often ends up happening is, like, people increase their social media audience.
Okay.
By getting their handle at the bottom of the screen. So a lot of the time, like Gary, because he's feeling the conversation, tells Dustin, who's working, like, is the host and he's behind the scenes, to drop that handle. Yeah. But sometimes Dustin just does it by himself because he's making it look nice, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
and it's more powerful if Gary comes out and feels inclined to share versus if you're like, hey, will you drop my handle? He also does that a lot with, like, accountability, right? So you're like, cool, you're at 50 shows in basically a year. It's almost one a week. You go, I want to get to more content. And he goes, cool, now we're going to hold you accountable. Everyone's going to follow you. And if you don't accomplish this, we're going to be bugging you because we're watching, right?
Which I don't have a problem with because I've proven to myself that I've got this far.
Absolutely.
Which is slightly different to some people on the show that he's trying to get to start. So, but at the same time, it's taking it to that next level, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Lots of different perspectives.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'm super pumped that you got on. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm excited to watch the episode. When it goes live, definitely let me know. I might be working when it's live, but hit me up with a message. Pardon?
You can definitely catch the replay.
Totally. I'm excited.
I'm going to attempt to create something like afterwards out of the clip.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I'll sit on it for a while because that's another thing he talks about, people trying to use him for leverage.
Yeah, I think you want to do it wise, right? You want to thank him for the opportunity to be on his show and point people to his channels, not necessarily just make it about you and then reshare it later. Super valid. But I also think you should post this video tonight before you're live on the show, or tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. Is tomorrow Tuesday?
Oh, well, it's early. I should post it now, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Post it tonight, and then you go on the show, and then you do like an after. So then you go and you make a 2, 3, 4 minute video of you sharing like what you learned and what you want to do. So he talks about, I haven't heard him talk about it as much lately, but he often talks about making your own, like, this is what I'm setting out to accomplish. Totally blanking on the word for it. But you want to, and then releasing that to your community, and you want to be like, I had the opportunity to be on the show. Here's what I learned, and then post that video because that's 2, 3, 4 minutes. And for people like me who follow you in that part of your community, that's interesting, right? We want to hear. Often on Teawithmike, we hear a lot about your guest. This is an opportunity to make some content around this moment, not just the exact moment. And rather than getting one clip with you with Gary, you get this video, the video with Gary, some snippets from it, and some, thoughts afterwards. I can't believe this happened, and you post it and see and which is impressive and looks cool and tells more of the story. And that's more of like a documenting strategy, right?
Mm.
So, we're documenting what happened.
That's great. That's another one of Gary's, isn't it? Great.
Totally. So now we've documented because you've spoke out loud what's happened in a way that normally you wouldn't get to share because you're running an interview show where you find out other people's stories, which is why I wanted to have you on my very special one and only episode, Water with Jonathan.
Which I really do appreciate.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not being too dry.
Hopefully you remembered to hit record at the beginning of this. But yeah, that's what I do. Keep it short, simple.
Yeah.
Post this tonight. Post the aftermath video, and you could be a follow-up, right? If I was you, I'd take screenshots of everything tonight before you go to bed, before the Gary Vee thing happens tomorrow. And then in 6 months, compare. Here's where I was at before the show. Here's where I was at. And then you can choose when you want to do that. 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year. You do a follow-up video where you're like to Gary, but post it on your show and have people tag him and go, hey, loved being on your show. Here's what's happened since. I wanted to say thank you for the support and what I did with it. And show the story. That's documenting versus creating. A lot of people are like, well, yeah, but I don't want, like, I'm sitting on my computer sending DMs. That's a boring story. Well, maybe if you're like, Daily V is you sitting typing on the computer, but the story and the progress and seeing that in like a bigger, broader sense is cool. A lot of people forget about that. And so telling all parts of the story, I think, is going to help you.
That's good advice.
So for me, if I was in your shoes, I've got a personal brand, but it's not something I'm aggressively building in the same sense that you are. And so I am not putting out content as much as I, should be, right? But like, it doesn't matter how much content I put out. When I have time, I write content. Sometimes I write, sometimes it's video, sometimes right now I'm going to have this piece and I can share it and be like, haha, let's see if I predicted Gary Vee correctly or not. But it's, when you have time, make the most of it, put it out there. When you don't have time, for me, that's good. I'm happy with that. We launched Taco Monster.
Yes.
And announced it, and COVID is delaying the launch of our business. So I actually, like, this week we would have had our first like preview event for our community to taste all of our new food truck items, and we're like, we won't be able to do anything like that till likely, who knows, but could be July. So it's just super weird. But we've been doing everything we can to push out crazy content. I'm engaging really deep on different platforms, sending lots of messages, posting tons on Instagram.
Logo design competition.
Yeah, totally. Design Your Own Monster contest, which closed. Well, technically it hasn't closed for another 3 hours, but that's coming to a close. And we had like kids designing in their own versions of a taco monster, and we ran a class where kids could learn how to design. So we're doing all sorts of stuff. And I'm a taco truck, but I ran an online free class with the designer of our brand on the internet for people to do. So like, we're thinking outside the box and doing that kind of stuff too. And I think for you, adding a little bit of that flavor could be interesting to what you're doing online. And so hopefully this goes somewhere.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the water with Jonathan Strome.
You are very welcome. At the end of every single one of these shows, I let my guests ask the audience a question. So, Mike, what would you like to ask the audience? They'll comment below in the video answering your one and only question.
So, guys, you've hopefully watched all this video, heard a little bit of the story that of my journey so far. What do you think is going to happen when I ask my question to Gary Vaynerchuk on Tea with Gary Vee?
Oh, nice. I like it. Comment below. Would love to know your predictions. One, what's going to happen, but two, tag on to that if you think that my advice was right or wrong. But if you've already watched the episode, because this is like 3 years from when the interview happened and you're watching this video, cheating, that's not allowed. Thank you very much for being on the show, Mike. I'm glad we were able to do the spontaneous call. edit it, post it tonight, tag me.
Oh, I'm not editing it. It's going raw, dude.
Well, by edit, I mean like take what you recorded and put it up. You know. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I look forward to it. Please keep me in the loop. Let me know how it goes tomorrow or Wednesday. You're the man. I'm stoked you're continuing. It's crazy to see the progress you made. I hope you continue.
And then also the full loop between me, you, and Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, you better. That's right. Now you better give me a shout out, because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have known who he is, and you wouldn't even be on the show tomorrow.
I'm putting it in because that's so true.
You don't need to give me a shout out for nothing. Though I will laugh and think it's awesome. If you pulled it off, I'd laugh really hard.
Do it because it is true.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you very much. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Take care. Have a good night. And chat soon. Keep me in the loop how tomorrow goes.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Anytime.